3 list of the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15, it shows how much chemical pesticide is on the fruit and produce that we buy. And coming in at the worst offenders, like usual, are things like strawberries, kale, and spinach. They have twice the amount of chemical. Apples, pears, and peaches also make the list, along with bell peppers and green beans. Avocados, onions, honeydew, pineapple, generally anything. When you buy organic produce, it's still sprayed, but at least it's sprayed with the USDA organic approved pesticides. So bottom line, when it comes to the Dirty Dozen, you probably want to get organic.
Raise your hand if you have ever been personally victimized by Bobby. Today, I thought we would talk about the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen and why it is a bunch of hullabaloo. Alrighty then, let's get into it, shall we? First and foremost, all jokes aside, I do genuinely believe that intentions are pure. I think anybody who feels the need to give health and nutrition advice to the public probably cares about the health and well-being of the public. The problem, though, is that Bobby is also not a dietitian, not qualified to be giving you food and nutrition advice. Swaying people away from eating food like fruits and vegetables in this context that they might be more likely to afford because of misinformation is just really unhelpful. Organic can still use pesticides. They just have to be deemed natural. Every year, the USDA tests our produce, and every single year it is hundreds and sometimes thousands of times below the threshold levels set. And in this case, it is the conventional produce being tested, not organic. In studies comparing organic and conventional produce in regards to pesticide harm is not evidence to support the recommendation to choose organic over conventional when we're looking at human health outcomes. In fact, here is a list of some of the common produce items on the Dirty Dozen list and how many servings of them you would have to eat in order for pesticide residues to become a concern. And this is daily. A study from the American Journal of Toxicity showed that the exposure to the 10 most commonly detected pesticides on the Dirty Dozen list are so negligible and the methodology that the Environmental Working Group used was not sufficient to produce any meaningful rankings. What they often do is count the number of pesticides found on a food item without saying anything about the dose. So for example, strawberries had 10 pesticides and blueberries had 6. So you should eat blueberries, but you should not eat strawberries. And that logic is just faulty. So the president of the Environmental Working Group, his name is Kenneth Cook, he has stated explicitly that he recommends eating fruits and vegetables whether they are conventional or organic. Kenneth, that is so confusing. You have formulated your identity off of fear-mongering people from eating conventional produce because it's dirty. Just make it make sense. I'm sorry, Kenneth, I'm being dramatic. No, I'm not. Anyway, the authors of this study conclude that there is no measurable positive health outcome for substituting organic over conventional produce. Consumer exposure to the 10 most common pesticides found on the Dirty Dozen list are several orders of magnitude below what would be required to cause any biological effect. The Environmental Working Group's methodology also skews the ranking and ranks something higher on the Dirty Dozen list if there are multiple pesticides found together. The authors of this research concluded that the potential for synergistic effects, meaning two pesticides that combine and make something more dangerous together, is also negligible considering how low these residues truly are. Listen, if you want to buy organic, but people like Bobby stomping around the grocery store trying to scare everybody is just socially irresponsible.